success like yourself. Sometimes people can misunderstand you. Sometimes people.
Voiceover, deep cinematic tone. The crowd rises. Cameras flash. A young woman, her hair blazing orange like wildfire, explodes down the track. Faster, fiercer, freer than anyone else. Her name echoes through the stadium. Sha'Carri Richardson. But behind that lightning smile and painted nails lies a story no gold medal could ever tell. A story of loss, rebellion, and rebirth. She became America's next sprint queen, and then in one test, she lost everything. Sponsors vanished, the world turned its back, and her dream, the Olympic dream, slipped through her fingers. Yet from the ashes of humiliation, she would rise again, stronger, wiser, unstoppable. Pause. Gentle piano underlay. How did a girl from Dallas, raised by her grandmother, go from heartbreak to world champion? This is the rise, fall, and redemption of Sha'Carri Richardson, the fastest woman alive who learned that true victory begins after defeat. Voiceover, soft piano, and faint city ambiance. Before the fame, before the flame-colored hair and record-breaking sprints, there was a little girl running through the streets of Dallas, Texas, barefoot, wild, and untouchable. Her name was Sha'Carri, a child raised not by privilege, but by persistence. Her grandmother, Betty Harp, became both her anchor and her world. While other children clung to toys, Sha'Carri clung to the sound of her grandmother's voice, the one that told her she could be anything. Her biological mother was often absent, and though the pain lingered, it was her grandmother's strength that built her foundation. At school, teachers noticed something unusual: a girl who didn't walk. She glided. When she ran, it felt like the world bent to her rhythm. But tragedy would shadow her gift. Years later, just before the 2021 Olympic trials, Sha'Carri received devastating news. Her mother had died. The pain hit harder than any sprint could outrun. She ran that week not for medals, but for survival. Voiceover, tone deepens. Her story didn't begin on a track. It began in a small home in Dallas, with love, loss, and a promise whispered by her grandmother. When the world tries to stop you, baby, just run faster. Voiceover, upbeat rhythm builds with light percussion and crowd sounds. At Louisiana State University, the world finally began to see what Dallas had been whispering for years. A storm was coming. Sha'Carri Richardson, barely 19, stepped onto the track in purple and gold and shattered everything in her path. In 2019, she broke the NCAA 100-meter record, clocking an astonishing 10.75 seconds, one of the fastest times ever recorded by a college athlete. That moment wasn't just a victory. It was a declaration. Reporters compared her to Florence Griffith Joyner, the legendary Flo Jo, bold, stylish, unapologetically fierce. Sha'Carri wore her identity like armor: neon hair, diamond nails, lashes that fluttered with confidence. She didn't fit the traditional mold, and she never intended to. Cut, stadium roar fades into an intimate tone, but behind the glitter, there was grit. She trained relentlessly, obsessed with shaving milliseconds off her time, often alone under the Texas sun. Her coach once said, "When she runs, she doesn't just chase victory, she chases release." That hunger caught the world's eye. Nike called. Cameras followed. And just like that, the girl who once ran through Dallas streets was now sprinting into living rooms across America. Voiceover, soft fade out. Sha'Carri had become a sensation, the embodiment of speed, confidence, and fire. But in the world of fame, the faster you rise, the harder the fall becomes. Voiceover, orchestral swell, sound of crowd cheering. By 2021, Sha'Carri Richardson wasn't just a rising athlete. She was the face of American track and field. With every race, her orange hair blazed like a comet, her swagger unmatched, her confidence magnetic. When she sprinted through the finish line at the U.S. Olympic trials, clocking 10.86 seconds, the world erupted. Clip cue. Announcer shouting, "Sha'Carri Richardson! She's going to Tokyo!" In that instant, she became a movement. Young girls dyed their hair to match hers. Social media crowned her the future of sprinting. Brands lined up, Nike, Beats, fashion houses. Everyone wanted a piece of the flame. She wasn't just running. She was rewriting what an American champion could look like. Voiceover. Softer tone, introspective. But fame comes with its own gravity. She was barely 21, suddenly navigating fame, money, and expectation all at once. The media painted her as invincible, but behind the scenes, she carried the weight of grief. Her biological mother had died just weeks before that historic race. She smiled through pain. But loss doesn't disappear. It hides in the silence between victories. Cut, sound fades, deep breath before next line. The nation saw her as a superstar. She saw herself as a survivor, still learning how to breathe beneath the spotlight. And yet, as the world prepared to watch her fly across the Tokyo track, one decision, one moment of human vulnerability, would bring it all crashing down. Voiceover. Tension builds. Low heartbeat sound. The star who ran faster than anyone was about to learn that you can't outrun the truth. Voiceover, low ambient hum, flashes of headlines. Just weeks before the Tokyo Olympics, the celebration turned to silence. Sha'Carri Richardson, America's fastest woman, had tested positive for THC, the active compound in marijuana. Sound effect, breaking news alert. The headlines hit like a hurricane. Disqualified. Suspended. Dreams destroyed. The girl who just electrified the nation was suddenly painted as reckless, immature, and unworthy of the flag she carried. Commentators questioned her discipline. Sponsors hesitated. Fans divided. Some called it justice. Others called it hypocrisy. How could a plant cost an athlete her dream in a world where pain runs deep and rules run shallow? Voiceover, deeper tone. Sha'Carri didn't hide. She stepped forward, raw and trembling on national television. Through tears, she said, "I'm human. I made a mistake while trying to cope with the loss of my mother." That moment, vulnerable, unfiltered, revealed something far more powerful than speed. Honesty. But honesty doesn't erase consequences. She was banned for 30 days, her Olympic ticket gone, her dreams stolen by a single test tube. Music swells, heavy piano and strings. As the Tokyo Games began, her absence was louder than the starting gun. Online, her face became a symbol. For some, of failure. For others, of injustice. And Sha'Carri, alone in her apartment, watched the races she should have been in. The camera lights had vanished. The silence was deafening. Voiceover, soft whisper, emotional close. Every athlete knows how to run, but not everyone learns how to fall and stand again. Beat of silence. Sha'Carri's story was far from over, because in the world's judgment she found something stronger. Herself. Voiceover. Soft piano begins, sunlight breaking through clouds. For months, Sha'Carri Richardson disappeared from the spotlight. No interviews, no cameras, no cheering crowds. Just a woman and her shadow, learning how to breathe again. When she finally returned, she didn't promise redemption. She promised evolution. In 2022, she came back to the track, not as the world's sweetheart, but as its challenger. Each race was a test, not of speed but of patience. Critics said she was done. But Sha'Carri smiled and said, "I'm not back. I'm better." Sound, crowd rising, heartbeat syncs with the rhythm of footsteps. Then came Budapest 2023, the World Championships. In Lane 4, the world watched. When the gun fired, she didn't just run. She erased the doubt. 10:65 seconds, a new world-leading time. Sha'Carri Richardson was the world champion. Her victory lap was more than triumph. It was testimony. No sponsors, no spotlight, no safety net, just a woman who refused to be defined by a mistake. Voiceover, emotional crescendo. Gone was the fiery chaos of 2021. In its place stood a calm, grounded athlete who had turned pain into power. She carried herself with grace, not seeking forgiveness, but proving resilience. Soft fade. Strings swell. Sha'Carri Richardson didn't just return to the top, she rebuilt the mountain. Voiceover. Soft orchestral theme. Golden sunlight across the track. From the streets of Dallas to the world stage. Sha'Carri Richardson has lived every shade of fame, from lightning glory to the darkest storm. But through it all, she never stopped running. She became more than a sprinter. She became a symbol for every young woman told she was too loud, too emotional, too different. Sha'Carri showed that greatness isn't born from perfection. It's born from pain, persistence, and purpose. Cut. Montage of slow-motion clips. Her laughing, training, embracing her grandmother. Her story reminds us that redemption is not a comeback. It's a transformation. That the track is not just a battlefield of time, but of character. Voiceover. Steady, powerful, close. In a world that tried to measure her worth by seconds, she proved her strength could not be timed. Sha'Carri Richardson's journey is living proof that true victory doesn't start at the gun. It begins the moment you rise after the fall. Music swells, fade to black. This is Sha'Carri Richardson. And she's still running. CTA. If her story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold journeys of Hollywood's brightest and bravest stars.